Hello, I'm sitting here with the amazing Ascendant Master Saint Germain in Westchester, Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia, where we spent the weekend, the first weekend of August 2008 with him, speaking upon the changes of the earth and humanity and some ancient history. So welcome, Saint Germain.
Thanks so much. Just happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you very much for gifting us with this interview. During the weekend, you spoke about three tools in which God, the Creator, has given us that we could use during this time.
Yeah, the three free tools that everybody has is prayer, or any spoken word practice, meditation, and working with the dreams, because we're out of our bodies every night, receiving usually 5 main teachings every night. So to get in tune with that 1/3 of our life, where we're out receiving usually the highest teachings at night. So I've added visualization to that. Originally it's the 3 free tools, but I think visualization is another one that we can incorporate. So it's a combination of affirmation, visualization, meditation. So those 3 together creates more of an alchemical blend when we combine them together, and then working with the dreams. So it's within each and every one of us, and there's no cost.
And pretty simple too, actually, if you think about it. It's pretty beautiful.
Yeah, and that's, to me, that's the greatest truths in the cosmos are really simple, and that it should be that way. That we don't have to be scholars necessarily to figure out the secrets of the universe. If we're just working inside, it'll all naturally just come out through time, through our own disciplines. So just to know that every prayer is only good for 24 hours, that we need to have that discipline to do it every day, to call in whatever we are calling in, to meditate, and visualize, and to work with the dreams.
Thank you. Excellent. Speaking of the dreams, you've mentioned that 90-some% of our dreams is in relation or correlation to 24 hours prior or 24 hours after. Can you touch a little bit more?
Yeah, the majority of the dreams have to do with the day before and the next day upon waking, that the 24 hours before and after. There's roughly six main classes of dreams, and one of the main classes is the visionary or the prophetic dream, which usually has to do with something in the future, where we just remember every detail, and there was no mystery to it, or symbols that seem to be hard to figure out, so to speak, where they're just totally clear. We remember everything, and smell and taste and feel, and that might only come maybe once a year, or just depending on our disciplines, when we get the visionary or the prophetic type of dream. But the majority, over 90%, has to do with the day before and that day after, to help us in our everyday life. And then we have 3 main guardians, that each person has 3 guardians minimum always with them, and that we are in touch in the dream time and able to receive these teachings in these etheric mystery schools and in these different places that we are allowed to go via the crystal cord, and then coming back in the morning. So that's what keeps us connected during the dream time, is the silver cord or the crystal cord that's only severed when we make the transition, so to speak. But that's what keeps us, so we can go and venture light years and go to vast distances every night and receive higher teachings in the etheric plane, or in other planets, or in other systems, or in the Middle Earth, etc. So, yeah, the dreams are also powerful, and the book that I recommend is called The Dream Book by Betty Bethard. Seems to be the only book that has the proper universal dream symbology. It's the only book that's resonated with me, and it's just a beautiful...
and that's Betty Bethard.
Betty Bethard, yeah, it's the best, seems to be the top book used in universities and in the parapsychology and in the dream classes in different colleges and universities across the planet, published in 9 different languages. And she was a dear friend of mine. She's made the transition now, but just a dear friend for decades, and on the West Coast. And I've spent different past lives with her, and Native American past lives, It's just such a simple approach, and just to understand the symbols in a symbolic way instead of a literal way.
Well, thank you.
Really simple.
You just mentioned the hollow earth. Could you explain a little bit more about that? I would love for the world to know the truth about the inner earth, the hollow earth, and the incredible light beings that are actually there with us.
Well, just to understand that all spinning orbs are hollow inside, that the weight actually is pulled to the outside, just as if we were mixing dough in a bowl to make a cake, and we turn it on high and all the batter gets pulled out to the outside of the bowl. Or like a UFO would actually have the same kind of principle, or when we throw a frisbee, that the weight's on the outside of the frisbee and spinning faster and faster. That actually has to do with ships and with levitation with the frisbee, but it's the same principle, that the weight's on the outside and then it's lighter inside, and that Earth and Mars and Jupiter and all the spheres have a hollow core, and it's 7,000 miles across inside of this planet, and that's where the original settlement was, with those that came from Sirius that are part of Melchizedek order, the galactic federation of planets, and all these different beings of the upper celestial management system that founded the original capital city in the hollow earth 500 million years ago, approximately, and with the purpose of creating the universal body type, because soul groups were having somewhat difficulty embodying in different star systems and embodying in these different body types they were difficult to go from one body type to the next. And so it was to one of the main reasons that Earth was created, and the hollow earth and the foundation of Shambhala, the capital city inside, was to create the universal body type and to create a world, a habitation for beings coming from Maldek, from the planet that used to be between Mars and Jupiter, that were allowed to come here, that had so much of their karma balanced, and so many other beings from all these other planets within our system and from other systems that were given, say, another shot or another opportunity to finish their human experience and graduate through what we know as ascension. So there's 28 different constellations that I know that are represented here, of all these different beings that have come here, and that we've created this haven or heaven type place for those to come to have another chance, maybe where like in Maldek's situation, where they did not get to finish what they had started, so that
which would be considered the asteroid belt, correct?
Yes, and so the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter actually was a planet.
Right.
It was 12 original planets, and so a lot of the beings that came from Maldek, amongst others, for lack of better terms, I say it's just, a lot of the cosmic refugees have been given the second, the third, or the 50th chance to make their ascension and to finish their evolutions in the lower worlds and to graduate.
Which is primarily one of the reasons why the planet was created, to have this possibility for these souls to incarnate here and continue with their evolution.
Yeah, and again create that universal body type, which was perfected in a very, very short time. And this is where we're living in, and this is what's considered the universal body type. So we will be able to, so soul groups will be able to embody or incarnate in different systems with the utmost ease, or with less difficulty than before. Because there was all these other different forms that had all these extra limbs and different shapes, and so.
Excellent, thank you. Can we go and speak about the heart? You mentioned the airtight cell of the heart. Can you go into that?
Yeah, the four main chambers of the heart, and they have what they call, or we have what we call the fifth chamber, or the secret chamber. This very small chamber in the heart, and inside the fifth chamber, or the secret chamber, there is what they call an airtight cell, and magnifying that under electron microscope, say thousands of times, we can actually see the divine image of Creator in this singular airtight cell that's in the heart of each person, and that's our connection back to the source, and where our intuition and all of our thoughts are coming from, directly from the heart of God, coming in through the crown to the heart, to the physical heart, and then speaking in the gut feeling, the first guess, that's your best guess, the intuition, the gut, the instinct. So it's just a very subtle voice that's speaking through the airtight cell, and that if we can just follow the intuition, that we'll always be on the golden road, we'll always be with the right people at the right time, the right place, for the right reason, and the right things happen, which are living in perfection, walking in miracles. So it's flipping it from here. Instead of thinking with the mind, we're going to think with the heart and feel with the mind, and only use the mind for discernment, just to remember the daily third-dimensional duties, just to brush our teeth, pay the phone bill, and then every other decision needs to be coming from here. And that's what the secret chamber is all about, is this image of Creator that's actually embedded in what they call the secret chamber, surrounded by the threefold flame of the love, wisdom, and power. And to balance the love, wisdom, and power, or the fleur-de-lis, of the lily, or what they call the lotus in the East.
Can you give an idea or a method of possibly getting in there? What would you recommend? Or I know there's probably millions of ways, possibly, but
yeah, just again, is to follow just to know your first guess is your best guess, and that's the intuitive voice, the all-knowing voice. That every thought comes from Creator, and all we have to do is act on it. Once we get an intuitive hit to do something, we don't contemplate it, we just move on it, and that will create the habit and the character of who we are, and we'll always be in the flow, and you'll always be on the golden road, as they say.
Yeah, I like when you mentioned during the weekend about how when you have that first instinctive sense to act on it, because then it starts to flood in. They gave you that push there.
Definitely, because let's just say, for example, maybe when we were younger and hadn't quite, whatever, we were still figuring things out, that we would contemplate thought instead of just acting on it.
Mm-hmm.
So contemplation instantly just disintegrates the thought, and then Creator's like, oh, okay, well, maybe later, okay, at another time, that thought will, will flow that thought through, and from the I Am Presence, from the higher self, from God, through the I Am Presence of the monad, then that thought will come through again later on. So the key is not to contemplate anything, because it literally just kind of, it's like, oh, we'll get a great thought, and then it'll be like, wow, that sounds great, I got a great idea, but shoot, I think I'm going to need some more money before I start it, or I think I need some help, maybe I need to gather a couple friends, or anything, and these little doubts or contemplation is what squishes the thought. So it's not to think that, all we have to do is just make ourselves available. Mm-hmm. and just to start and be in action. As soon as that thought comes through, be in action, no matter how grand it might seem, or overwhelming, or like, oh my God, I don't know if I can pull that off. But all I have to do is just take that first step. And then when Creator notices, when the I Am Presence, when Creator notices, okay, you're willing to step forward in action through the courage and the fearlessness to take on this global task, or this monumental task, that everything will just come. So you just make that one step, and then you made yourself available, and then everybody will come, and the money will come, and your friends, and all the support you need will all be right there, and then it's all easy, perfect. Mm-hmm. So all you have to do is just trust, and that utter faith and hope, and trust that it's always perfect, and every thought comes straight from God Himself, straight to you, into your heart, and your God self, and just to be that.
Thank you. Well, since you've just mentioned that, maybe we can get into that right now. You have a chart here of the I Am Presence. For those who might not be familiar with your work, but have maybe heard your name through the time, could we get into that just a little bit about the I Am Presence? What is the I Am Presence?
Yeah, just know this is the eternal aspect of self, the forever aspect of self, the higher aspect, the monad of self, that this would be the physical self here, and that the higher self, or the eternal aspect. Again, where the thoughts are coming through from Creator to our higher self, and coming down via the crystal cord or the silver cord, coming in through the crown to the final destination of the heart, surrounded by the threefold flame, and that's where the intuitive, that's where the voice and speaking through all the time, every split second. All the different thoughts are coming directly from Creator through the higher self down into our heart, and that we be speaking from our heart. We can do research on this, and there's full explanations of this, say on the internet, that's just at our fingertip, or that we could find in metaphysics stores. And there's many different versions of the chart over time. I've got maybe 12 or 13 different versions of the chart from all these different organizations from all over the world. But just to know that we have this higher eternal aspect of self, and that as we do our disciplines, that we will actually embrace the I Am presence to where they will merge as one, and we'll be walking in that God consciousness, or in that I Am consciousness, where the Akashic record and the records of all times are just on the tip of our tongue, where there is no more questions, just answers.
Now, would that be considered the Christ consciousness also? Or?
Sure, Christ conscious, or Buddha conscious, or God conscious, however we term to choose that.
Okay, thank you very much. Can we get into the topic about the pyramids and how they were constructed? You shared with us, and I thought that was just amazing. I thought maybe that could end centuries worth of lies or whatnot.
Sure. The majority of the largest temples on the planet, pyramids and other structures, were cut with the laser that's coming from the third eye, this indigo laser beam that we can harness through our own disciplines, and through visualization techniques, and through our own meditations, and working with the third eye and developing third eye technique. And I've been fortunate enough in this time to have that, and be able to harness that in this time, to have this indigo laser beam, so to speak, coming out of the third eye, which we can cut stones with, which we can levitate stones with, and walk with stones and move stones. So like in Egypt's case, not in every case in Egypt, but in some of the buildings there, in some of the structures there, that the actual limestone was cut out of Upper Egypt, again, just like standing in front of a cliff, and then focusing on the cliff and literally cutting a block out of the cliff face, and then having usually 6 people that would gather and all focus their energy and their beam on the block, and pull the block out of the cliff, and slowly lower the block, and then gather around the block, and then raise the block up and walk with the block through the total focus of the third eye, and walk with it for maybe 15 or 20 minutes, or however long they could sustain that focus, because it's just has to be just perfect focus with no distraction at all. And so maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and then set the block down, gather up, and breathe, and get more focused, and then put the beam on the block again, and then raise the block, and then walk with it, and then when we needed to rest, then we would rest and gather up more energy and raise the block, and bring it either to a vehicle, either a ship, or bring it to a literal ship, and sail it down the Nile to, say, the Giza Plateau, and then again levitate the stones, walk with the stones, and place the stones in place there at the pyramid. There were ships or craft that were used in conjunction. It was a combination of these heightened technologies, because the first pharaohs and the first ones in Egypt were directly coming from Atlantis, like in Tibet. When Atlantis was in its final days, people were going into the Yucatan, to Tibet, Egypt, etc. So there's places all over the world that have that ancient technology that they were using in these ancient golden civilizations. So again, the majority of the ruins in South America, Central America, and China, and in the Middle East, in Egypt, and the world over, were built by just harnessing this energy and just focusing this indigo colored laser beam out of the third eye. And there's so many things that we see. They say, well, where's there's no tool marks, there's no scratches, there's no, how did they make these stones, or how did they cut these crystal skulls
with such precision?
Exactly, like especially with the crystal skulls. That's definitely another one that's been kind of a mystery through time. But it's with laser-like precision coming, which is actually beyond any man-made laser. This is the ultimate laser beyond all lasers, to cut and levitate, move, and it's within ourselves.
Sure, thank you. You mentioned the Yucatan, and we talked about South America a lot, and Mexico, whatnot, in the Mayan calendar. Could you feel compelled or not to talk about, not necessarily your prophecy, not to get into that, but maybe to get all the attention off of 2012, December 21st? You know, what could you share about the Mayan calendar?
Just that it's the true calendar, and that a lot of people were going to say there was a change in 2000 and they were just on the wrong calendar. A lot of things that were mentioned will happen. No bad things happening, but the electricity stopping was just one of the things, but only just for a short time, just so God can get everybody's attention. When the communications are gone, then God has everybody's attention. But just understand that the calendar has to do with Pleiades and our rotation around Pleiades, and that we make that circle just under 26,000 years roughly, and that we're only a few short years away from beginning the next cycle, or the awakened state, and that the photon belt is bisecting our solar system and the Pleiades, and that once we get to the heart of the photon belt, this is when the change happens. And to understand that 2012 is the December 2012 is the end of the calendar, but that there is the 7 mystic moons, and that's the most important part of the Mayan calendar, which accounts for the 7 more months that follow December 2012, which puts you at July 2013. In South America, etched in stone, Saint Nazca Plain is 2011. In the Yucatan, etched in stone is 2012. In North America, etched in stone is 2013. So all those indigenous tribes from the Inca, Maya, Hopi, Cherokee, etc., are all on the same page. But 2013 is the day of the year of the change. So just know that December 2012 is the end of the calendar, but that doesn't mean the end of life on Earth as we know it. The great change is coming 7 more months after that, in July. And the end of the calendar, that's July 25th, 2013. And it's a beautiful change, and that there is no negative Earth changes. There still will be conflict up until the very final seconds on July 25th, 2013. But that there is no grand cataclysms or any mega loss of life. And just to understand that through our own disciplines and through all these beings all over the world of the group avatar, or the critical mass that has chose to come back now, which there's millions of beings that have chose to come back, that are holding that positive frequency, that are transmuting all these negative things, or in the ethers, let's say, and in the projections of negative prophecies. So majority of all the maps of the future and these different negative prophecies don't need to be heeded at all. That all we have to do is just stay in the frequency of the love frequency and the positivity, and to know that every word magnifies no matter what it is. So not even to talk about anything that has to do with any kind of future negativity, prophecies, cataclysm, etc. So just to transmute that even in this moment. I don't even like saying that word, so transmute, transmute, transmute. And just to know that we have so many of us that are transmuting all these negative things, and that we can make changes just through our own daily disciplines, and that there's thousands of groups and all over the world that are doing daily and weekly and monthly groups to counteract that other force.
Thank you very much. I think that's very beautiful, actually, the hope that's being provided here for all of us. Can you in a real short answer, possibly talk about Nasara?
Sorry, I don't know a whole lot about it. I haven't heard anything really good about it, so when I don't hear anything good about something, I don't put my energy into it unless it's positive.
So you're actually not really connected to it as a lot of it's being talked about on the internet? So you don't recommend really putting any focus on it?
Not at all. All I know is that a lot of my friends around the planet have put money into it, and it's in my name, supposedly, and they were told they were going to receive stuff back, but none of them have received anything back, so Yeah, I mean, I don't really know that much about it.
Okay, thank you. Can we talk a little bit, because we are here just outside of Philadelphia, and I'm at least very connected to Philadelphia, so can we just real briefly speak about the Constitution and some of the most brilliant writings that have encased on this planet? Did you have anything to do with those? Constitution, Bill of Rights?
Yeah, just the majority of the foundation of this planet, I mean, this nation, I put so much energy into founding the United States, and in the foundations, from the anthem to the flag to the Bill of Rights to the Declaration, Constitution. I tried to, in the past, when I was spending quite a bit of time, say in the hundreds of years ago in Europe, trying to create this United States of Europe, and I actually tried to pull that off there, and it just wasn't meant to be, it wasn't destined to be, but that was my goal, was to create like a United States. And in Europe, when I was spending all these times in Europe, as the Count of Saint Germain and Francis Bacon and all these other times when I was there, but it just didn't, it wasn't meant to be. So it was okay now to go on to the New World, or go on to another place to try to found this United States, or this, this foundation for the I Am race. And that's what America is an anagram for the I Am race, or for the beings that are of the seventh root race and of the seventh final dispensation, the Golden Age of Aquarius. So I'm just fortunate enough to have been in the foundings of the nation, and inspiring Jefferson and all these different people, George Washington in particular, amongst others, in the founding, like I said, with the anthems, with the flag, with the name of the country, and just every aspect of the foundation. I was partly influencing that, and working kind of behind closed doors, so to speak, with a lot of these, with Washington and Adams and Jefferson and etc. So I'm just so thankful that it has come, and that we did have this place where we do have a lot of the freedoms to sit right here and talk about it. This is one of the main reasons that it was created, just to be able to have freedom of speech and not be ridiculed and what like in the old days, say in Europe, and judged and put on the stake, or however that was. So that was to create this place of freedom, which I stand for. And that's another one of my titles, is the God of Freedom.
Thank you. I could easily sit here for another month or two and ask question after question. It really has been truly amazing to spend a weekend with this being, and to be in his presence. Two last questions, actually. I know many people would probably, it'd be hard for them to accept you as a physical person as you sit here with me, but I just loved your explanation of being human. Can you just touch on that, being here in this time right now as being a human?
Well, there's millions of beings who chose to come back to be part of what we call the group avatar, or the critical mass, to be that positive grounding anchor when the miracle happens on July 25th, 2013, that we need a certain number, and that we're way past that number. But to know that in order to come back,